start streaming. All right. We are officially live. I am
Yay!
so stoked to have you on the show, Rocio, talking about you and all your gloriousness and what you have coming up for women and moms. And I think we should get started with you introducing you, and then we can kind of like navigate how we even came to know each other, because that's a really crazy story in and of itself.
It is.
Um, and then we'll just jam on all things mama and your offerings.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Thank you so much. I'm
Yeah.
first and foremost, I'm honored to be here with you. This is
Yay.
so freaking cool. And
Thanks.
yeah, I want to just thank you for inviting me on and having me on this forum to talk to your followers and, mamas and women out there in general. So thank you so
Mm-hmm.
much.
You're welcome.
Um, so for those of you that don't know me, my name is Rocio Sisco. I am a full-time mom, part-time entrepreneur right now, and just lover of all wellness. So I've been in the health and fitness industry for the past eight to like 10 years. And I turned my own health and fitness journey into a passion, And I,
Mm-hmm.
I went into the CrossFit space, started CrossFit coaching and realized within the CrossFit coaching that there was something else missing in the transformation and evolution space. And that's when I started really diving deep into the mindset space and the mindset transformations. And personal transformations in the personal development space. Um, and I realized that there was something missing with the feminine empowerment space.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's how I stumbled across doing what I'm doing with Warrior. I wanted to uh, provide a service and more of a brand, a lifestyle brand that
Yeah.
would empower women of all backgrounds, all walks of life, and this is what has brought me to the Mama Chingona Challenge and why I'm here today.
Heck yeah. I have been talking about the feminine energy of everything, I feel like, this past week with the various podcasts and friends that I've been talking to. So I definitely want to get into that, like, vein of
Mm-hmm.
information, because it's been coming up as a real struggle for women, especially in a very masculine world, especially fitness, which is just super hyper masculine in and of itself. That's where I play my game of life.
Yep.
But even in like the cultural norms that we are in the US, it is very, like, do it yourself culture, and um like, you can be all of the things to
Yep.
everybody type of
Yep.
like brainwashing, or that's what we're told when we grow up is, you can achieve anything that you want, and if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself, like all of those little quips that we're told. And then the doing of achieving and more. But then we enter motherhood, or like even womanhood, I feel like. But, our conversations around entering motherhood, and it's this very esoteric, spiritual experience that for all my clients, it seems like these feelings and listening to your intuition and gut kind of like slap you across the face when you enter that
Mm.
phase, because no one prepared you for it.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your experience entering into motherhood as a very fit human? You were doing a lot of coaching and like a lot of fitnessing yourself, and you were immersed in that world,
Mm-hmm.
back where you lived. And then what was your journey to go like during pregnancy and then postpartum?
Yeah. Oh my God, this is so perfect and so great that you just mentioned it, because this is exactly what brought me to where I'm at today. And
Yeah.
the transition into motherhood, I mean, I'm in it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
knee deep in it with a 18-month-old right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that, you explained it very well. It's a spiritual journey and another there's like levels to this stuff.
So
This
many
is on a
levels.
whole other level. And I would consider myself a very awakened woman and human being at the stage of my life when I decided to have kids,
Mm-hmm.
and this is just out of this world. So, as you mentioned, I was very fit when I decided to get pregnant, and actually, it wasn't even a decision. Obviously, it just happened. We were open to it, and it happened, and
Mm-hmm.
we embraced it, and we were so ready for it.
Yeah.
Um, so it couldn't have happened at a better time. And physically, I was fit. And because of that, because of my journey with CrossFit, it allowed me to easily transition into continuing my routines, continuing my workouts,
Mm-hmm.
watching what I ate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was something that was really important to me during my pregnancy.
Yeah.
And it showed. I mean, honestly, it showed. I I don't I hear I'm a little like superstitious, and I hear that when that's the case, you're usually having a boy, yet we didn't know what we were having, that's a very like boy thing where you're like energetic and
Interesting.
do. Yeah, I'm a little superstitious, and that's something that like people in like the Hispanic culture say, that if you're up and energized and going, that's
Mm-hmm.
because you're having a boy. Yet
What are
we
you
didn't
like
know
when you're having a girl?
the girls drain you, supposedly.
Oh.
They drain
Hmm.
you, they take your beauty.
Why is having a female like so awful?
I
Dang.
know, I have no idea, but can you imagine, we go into this thing and I'm like, I don't want to know, and then I'm like, oh my God, what if I have a girl?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're busting the myth of
No.
energy plus girl. Like you're throwing that cultural belief like out the window.
Totally. So I mean, when we realized it was a boy, I well, before I even go into that,
Yeah.
um, so this was something that was very important to me, and I didn't know what I was having.
Mhm.
I just felt really, I loved pregnancy.
Mhm.
I know there's going to be women that look at this, that watch this podcast, and are like, "She's one of those,"
Right, right.
but I honestly did.
Yeah.
I loved pregnancy.
Your
I
genetics
took
enjoyed it.
It did. I
Yeah.
did. And it's not, I mean, it's not for everybody. Trust me.
No.
That wasn't the thoughts that I had going into it, that I was going to love this process. So there's something about, feeling like you're ready, and then going through that kind of a transformation in your, like, physically, mentally, and like emotionally and
Mhm.
spiritually. It will change you.
Mhm.
So because I was consistently working out and kept up with my routines, I was able to work out till the day before Santi was born. My
Yeah.
my son's name is Santiago, and I worked out till the day before he was born.
Mhm.
I was already set on doing a birth at a hospital, at a
Mhm.
birthing center.
Cool.
So that was the thing, and I mean, it was quite an experience.
Oh
Yet
yeah.
it was a beautiful one. Yet I wasn't expecting. I knew it was gonna be painful.
Mhm.
Yet I wasn't expecting to be in that kind of pain, and
Right.
that was an obstacle in itself.
Oh
So
yeah. Thank you, oxytocin, for pumping through your body.
I did a natural birth.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yep.
did a natural birth. So it was like,
Mhm.
I can do
You
this.
felt it all.
Well, I remember vividly just
Mhm.
like telling myself, "You're a freaking queen. You're a freaking queen. You've got this. You can do this."
I love it.
And
Yes, yes,
I don't.
yes.
It was, yeah, it was a beautiful experience, and I'm very grateful for having health and fitness in my life at
Mhm.
that point.
Can you say a little bit about what got you through in your pregnancy for those like peaks and valleys that you were experiencing, like emotionally, spiritually, physically, a little bit? Because you mentioned them. So I'm just curious, like, what was your process being a very attuned woman? How were you handling the thoughts and the feelings that were arising in you?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. Thank you so much for asking. So I have already established, or I had already established some routines. I had a morning routine where I meditated. I did a lot of like Wim Hof breathing leading up to then, like a softer, obviously more gentle type of breathing, at same structure. Because that I had every intention of that helping me with the labor process.
100%.
So yeah, it was a lot of that. It was journaling, reading. You know, I've been very knee deep into this spiritual journey for the past, I want to say maybe 10 years now.
Yeah.
So keeping those same practices and having the discipline to do that throughout pregnancy was very helpful, extremely helpful. I mean, the reason why I was able to really uncover things that were maybe something that I was still uncovering and awakening to, and even noticing and being aware that, oh, these are the thoughts I'm having. Let me put that down. Let me table that. Let me see if that comes up again. Why am I feeling this way? You know, and I one of those things, if I can share that with you guys, was having this feeling of no longer being independent and like being able to do the things that I wanted to do.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
We were talking before we got started about like spending hours at the coffee shop.
Yes.
That was something.
Days?
Yeah, you're right. And it was like, and I was prepared pre-COVID because I was already not doing that. Right. So like for me, those were things that I valued. I valued my solitude, and I was having this thought and this root thing come up for me about not having my independence. Why am I so afraid of that? Why am I seeing this journey as equaling no freedom? Right.
Yeah, that unknown is so scary because you've never done it before.
Yeah. You could read as many parenting books as you want. Until you're in it, you don't know how you're going to act. You don't know what you're going to think. You don't know what you're going to say.
Right.
Yeah, you learn as you go. You adjust as you go, and that's what we've been doing. That's what I've been doing. Yeah. So that's what helped me during my pregnancy.
So it was meditating, journaling, Wim Hof style breathing, but gentler, you said. And then awareness, like noticing when thoughts or feelings arise and you're like, that's interesting. I'm going to observe and witness that and see if it comes back later, or I have space to explore it now. So I'm going to like go down the rabbit hole and see what it is for me. I think that routine is so beautiful and perfect. And if our listeners or our viewers, and I'm sure you being in SoCal know this as well, but a lot of like top performers and top coaches, that's pretty much the routine to living your best life, right? We constantly hear, if you want to have peaks in business and personal life and performance, you need to meditate. You need to like have that quieted mind. You need to breathe. That's new on the agenda, but it's so important. Wim Hof is a beautiful human being. I just heard him on another podcast, Jordan Peterson's podcast, and highly recommend, if you have no idea who those two gentlemen are, definitely go give that podcast a listen. But also, Jill Miller of Yoga Tune-Up encourages pregnant women to practice diaphragmatic expansion, like breathing. And with that diaphragm expansion comes breath holds. And I'm constantly busting myths with my clients, and like they're like, well, I can't lift up a bowling ball, and I'm like, shut up, you can lift up a bowling ball, it's fine. We'll do it properly and then you can lift it up. But breathing and like holding breath, and swimming or whatever, women are constantly like, should I do that during pregnancy?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have all of these awesome professionals and then subsequent moms who are practicing, like you during pregnancy. You practiced a variation of Wim Hof breathing that includes very controlled inhales, exhales, holds of some
Mm-hmm.
kind. Jill Miller is encouraging diaphragm expansion breaths, and they include some length of breath hold, so you can actually expand your rib cage to lengthen your diaphragm. That feels glorious, by the way. Everyone should do them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Give your diaphragm a workout. But there is so many layers, like you were saying, to those tenets that you're practicing in your everyday routine, because
Yeah.
the breathing is helping probably every system in your body, be it neurological, cardiovascular, endocrine. Like, it's tapping all of those things. When you meditate, you're obviously tapping cognitive, but you're also tapping into nervous system because you are down regulating out of that stress response, and you're changing your brain waves. Journaling, again, mental and emotional check boxes. Breathing is also physical, so we can add in physical health there.
It is.
And awareness, super important to walk around being a conscious human, not a sleepy human.
Yeah, totally.
And then you mentioned your physical fitness. You were doing workouts of the day up until the day before you gave birth, which I hear pretty regularly from like active humans. They either worked out the day before they gave birth or like the day of they worked out and then they went into labor. So, like your top 5 things that pregnant mamas can do, and then postpartum, like you've carried over these things into postpartum.
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, my postpartum recovery was awesome.
Okay.
Like, I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful. My body, I didn't need to, have stitches. My body pretty much recovered. I mean, it doesn't recover because, as we know now, right? It takes over a year to recover.
Totally.
So my body felt really, really good a month after I gave birth. And I decided to just get back light training, breathing, a lot of like Aerodyne, rower, and still continue to implement and integrate those practices that I had continued throughout the pregnancy and before. Yeah, all those things.
What was the most surprising thing about becoming a mom? Like, you're like, what the heck?
You know what it is? I saw someone post this the other day about like how your heart now has legs and is out in the world walking around somewhere. The amount of love that it goes into this human is indescribable. Is indescribable. And it's like, it's a wild relationship because you want to get away sometimes, but you don't want to get too far.
Right.
You're looking at him and you're so in love and like just gushy and mushy. And then you're like aggravated and frustrated. It's so wild. It's chaos, yet it's a beautiful chaos because at the end of the day, this is your being. This is your boy, your girl. And it's, like I said, it's indescribable. You could try so many ways to describe it. Until you're in it, you don't know.
Right. Yeah. You can't possibly fathom.
No,
I like that description. It's beautiful chaos because you're two human souls living life in that present moment, trying to figure out a situation that neither of you have ever been in ever before. And so the chaos of the unknown is there, but then you have some tools, at least being however old you are versus your child. But at the same time, you also have like all of these beliefs and like bullshit veils that are also on
Yeah,
you too that your child doesn't have yet. So
totally.
you're both coming at it from two very whole, perfect perspectives, but
Yes.
you're navigating the ship in the ocean of chaos together.
Colleen, I follow, for those viewers that don't, Dr. Shafali.
Okay,
She does like she does parenting,
cool.
writes parenting books, and she talks a lot about parenting. And what she says is nothing will bring you to the call of your ego like the relationship with your child.
Oh, yeah. That's perfect.
And I'm like,
Right. Yes.
because there's all these like hidden parts that you either thought you were over, uh, thought you improved, or maybe didn't even know were there, and now
Mm-hmm.
you're like, but why am I acting this way? Why am I feeling this way? It's yeah, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's true, and I I understand that this human was developed in my body. He was a part of me for 9, almost 10 months,
Mm-hmm.
and he thinks he's still a part of me.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks him and I are one.
Right. Yeah.
So like he's just getting to the phase as an 18-month-old where he's starting to realize, oh, that's mom, and I'm over here.
Yeah.
We're
I'm
not one.
separate. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know what this is, but we're gonna figure it out, as you
Uh-huh.
said, right?
Yeah.
So I get that, and that allows me to have grace. That allows me to have
Mm.
grace with the entire process. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no wonder he can just slap me and pull my hair and like kick and scream and then be like hugging me and kissing me, and he thinks we're
Right.
one.
Right. I love that. I've never heard that described that way, and I love it.
Yeah,
It's so true for that, for their like developmental, like psychological age of yeah, all those steps of like security and blah blah blah.
yeah,
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
exactly.
Um what was I going to ask you? You said something so glorious. Um
About the ego.
oh, what did you and Angelo do anything before you became parents to discuss the type of parents you want to be?
Mm,
Because I know that that's a practice that very few people do because it's not even on their radar that they
yeah,
may end up parenting like they got parented and they hated it, so they want to do different, but they don't even know that that's an option. But then you just mentioned
yeah.
like things come up in the moment and you're like, why am I doing this way? Where
Mm-hmm.
did this come from? And it came from our childhood and how we were parented. So I'm just curious at what your experience like that
Yeah,
was with your partner, and then or even like in the moments where you're like, wait, why am I choosing this
yeah, yeah.
response?
Well, I've really uncovered that I'm turning into my mother.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah.
Um, and I've even like told her that, yet that was to be expected a little bit, yet
Mm-hmm.
not as much as it has been
Mm-hmm.
prominent now. But before we got pregnant, and when we decided to have kids, Angela and I knew that. So funny you asked this. I just posted about this yesterday.
Oh.
Angela and I knew, yeah, that there would be conflict,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's so much that we can't control. Yet
Yeah.
what's inevitable is that there's going to be conflict.
Totally.
So what we wanted to do is be prepared and be as equipped as possible to handle conflict,
Mm.
with each other, and in front and with the in front of a baby, with the mix of a baby's being in the area as well. So
Mm-hmm.
we hired a relationship slash conflict coach.
Didn't even know they
Shout out to
existed.
they shout out to Annie Lala. She's the freaking best.
Okay.
And one of the biggest lessons that she helped us learn was that when we are in conflict, we are on the same team.
Mm. That's so
We're married, we're
lovely.
on the same team. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're married, we're on the same team. Yet what happens when we fight is all of a sudden we get into our egos, right?
Mm.
We get into
Mm-hmm.
our egos, and then we become one, we become separate.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
all of a sudden you're fighting this person who seems like your enemy, but he loves you. They love you.
Right. You're like, wait.
So yeah. So it's like, who are you fighting for? Are you fighting for the I, or are you fighting for the us in the
Mm-hmm.
relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're fighting for the us, love is at the helm of everything. Love is over, like, tops it all,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing is that serious that cannot be either like figured out or
Right.
resolved. And
Right.
that's really the most prominent thing that we did before getting becoming parents was conflict resolution. We didn't even take those classes, Colleen. We didn't even take like the breathing classes, none of that.
Right. Right. You're like, I
We
trust. I
Oh
trust.
no, you know, as much as I've put myself through in my health and fitness journey, I mean, I'm competing,
Mm-hmm.
I trained to compete. So
Right.
I was really, I almost overly confident
Yeah.
in going into like the labor process.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, but it helped me to some extent, it helped me
100%.
overcome the pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I, like I said, I was blessed in the labor that I had, so I'm very grateful. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, first of all, I think it's so cool that you both hired a conflict coach because that's the number one thing that causes divorce.
Yeah.
It's why people break up is because there's just
Yeah.
so much conflict that gets unresolved and no one knows what to do with the stuff that you swept under the rug 5
I
minutes
know.
ago or 5 years ago. And it's there's a lot there's so many things
So much.
because
I know.
you start talking about, okay, you have these like very minute experiences with your partner or your child, and you're just like, it's nothing, it's whatever, it just rubs me the wrong way, and so that like
Mm-hmm.
gets put under the rug, and like then you keep like it keeps building, and the rug is only so
Yep.
big to hide that stuff, and the rug is actually our bodies, and all of those stored unresolved emotions and thoughts and feelings get stored in our bodies, and that's why we see
Mm-hmm.
so much um you could say like illness or like discomfort or
Mm-hmm.
dis-ease is
Mm-hmm.
because we just have these chronic bodies that haven't ever been heard or seen or listened to for however many days, weeks, years. And then we wonder why we have such a high divorce rate, or we have
Yep.
such bad relationships with our parents, and whatever, like whatever's happening for us and each
Yep.
individual. But there is so much power, and I think this is going to tie into like our feminine conversation of what you're creating, is like there's so much power in like something happening and you saying, whoa, this doesn't sit right with me, or this doesn't
Mm-hmm.
feel right for me. Can we just like time out and like feel about it and like talk about it? Because I want to figure it out and like have it be resolved. And like
Yeah.
that's what you have to do. You literally have to like
Yeah.
stop the play and have
Yeah.
the ovaries or the balls to say, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
I need to say
Yeah.
something. And it's so easy not to, but
Yeah.
to really speak into like the present moment and the feelings that are arising is something that we all need to practice because it's not readily taught in our culture. Like
Totally.
I was never taught anything about the stuff. We've been on this journey for 10 years ourselves, the spiritual work, the
Mm-hmm.
mental health work, the emotional work. That is the most powerful tool that I've implemented in my new relationship, is saying, whoa, you're really like, I'm having some feelings right now. Can we just talk them out? And I know you may not think anything's happening, but like I'm feeling really frustrated right now.
Yeah.
And I just want to talk it out in this moment so it can like get out of my system, and I can have my
Yeah.
clear energy and my good vibes, and we can like move on with our day and our
Totally.
life. Um
Mm-hmm.
and that is that. I feel like that is the speaking into of like more feminine qualities, like
Mm-hmm.
tapping into that gut and that heart center, dropping out of our
Yep.
heads. And so like with that little like new tangent we're going on,
Yeah.
what have you seen, and what have you felt for yourself, and then what have you seen where you've created this amazing program for moms? Like, why did this come about now?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna add something to the last question that you actually
Yeah.
said, because you brought it up in some crazy and divine way. That the other thing that we actually did do before
Okay.
parenting
Yeah.
was I totally forgot about this. I didn't give it as much credit as I should
Mm-hmm.
and as I would want to. Yet we really started working on our language
Oh,
skills.
yes. I
So
love
like
language.
we worked with Mark England.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing a lot of his work, and that helped us transition us into uh, the conflict resolution, right? Because there's
Yep.
something to be said about fighting, fighting well, yet also too, the words that you're using when you're fighting can really make a difference in how long it takes to create that resolution, how
Mm-hmm.
to forgive each other.
Yeah.
We call it empowered, like apologies,
Okay.
empowered resolutions, because we're we're a king and a queen.
Mm-hmm.
We're not asking for forgiveness from our knees. We're not looking down at
Right.
someone. We're up here,
I
So
love this.
yeah, I mean, that has been one of the things that we've been really focusing on, and it's
Mm-hmm.
transitioned into parenting, because
Totally.
we're conscious about not walking around and saying no, no, no. It's
Mm-hmm.
affirmative, it's positive.
It's
So
leadership.
yeah,
It's yeah. Yep.
totally,
Can
totally.
you give? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, go ahead. I
I was
didn't
gonna say,
want to go on another tangent.
yeah, yeah. Can you give an example of an empowered, what did you call it? Empowered apology?
Empowered
Can
apologies.
you give
Yeah,
an example of what your language would be?
yeah, totally. So this just happened before we got here. So like let's just say you and your partner have something planned. Like Angela and I had planned that I was going to come here at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Something came up, and it bled into my plans,
Mm-hmm.
right? Instead of him being like, oh my God, I'm so, see how my body language gets? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do this to you.
Right.
How can I repair, like, how can I repair this?
Yeah.
Instead of that,
Mm-hmm.
he said, babe, I want to apologize to you for bleeding into your time. Thank you for your grace. How can I support you later on today?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What can I do to show you love and support later on today, to show you that, I'm appreciative of your grace.
Right. Right.
Your
So
whole
different.
body language,
Right.
changes.
Yeah.
And you want to see your partner be empowered. You
Mm-hmm.
don't want to see them shrink and shrivel.
Totally.
It
Yeah.
it it inspires you to be empowered.
Right. And it's a complete different feel of not owning it to owning it. Like, he
Bingo.
owned his lateness in front of you. He owned up to it and like in your conversation, and you're like, "Cool, you own it, so let's keep moving forward." Like,
Yes.
that's it. Yeah.
Yes. That's exactly what it does, because you're no longer in a mode of feeling like, okay, he totally just disrespected my time. I feel
Mm-hmm.
completely uh, what's the word that I'm looking?
Disrespected or
Yes,
yeah.
disrespected or violated.
Mm.
My time is not important.
Right.
Because we can begin, when those apologies come off that way, we can begin to make up all of these stories in our mind that are like putting up defensive mechanisms to
Mm-hmm.
protect us.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's what normally happens. And I'll be lying to you if I
Totally.
weren't to tell you that still does happen sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we're so much quicker to catch it,
Mm.
close our eyes, take a breath, and be like, I need space right now to
Mm.
think this through, and
Mm-hmm.
then we can get back to this conversation. Can I have your support in this?
Mm-hmm.
It gets so much easier to use when you practice it.
Right.
And we're practicing. We're not
All the
perfect.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time. And I love that you take breaks from each other as well, because
Yeah.
I implore that. I've only had to do it once in this new relationship, and I did it more in my past relationship just because we were together longer. But like things would happen and I would be like, I don't know how to approach this. So can we just take 10 and I can process and you can process and then we can come back together and have an actual conversation about it, because my first initial reaction is one of my 7-year-old self and I really want to like throat punch you right now. But I know that's not really what I want to do.
Right.
So can we agree to just take this time and like do our thing and then we'll come back?
Yeah.
And
totally.
Yeah.
It's a game changer. So for anybody that's out there watching and wanting to work on this, that's a game changer in itself, because talking about the nervous system, right? When you're in a conflict, it's the same thing.
Fighting or fleeing.
If you're a lion in the jungle, or if you're an animal in the jungle and a lion is chasing you, a gazelle and a lion, right? The lion is chasing you. Your nervous system gets upregulated, just like our nervous system gets upregulated in a conflict. It's the same thing. The only difference is that animal, the moment the lion is gone, doesn't have the cognitive capacity to remember and keep the memory of the lion chasing him in his mind. So he's upregulated and then he's downregulated instantly.
Yep. Shakes it off.
But goes on with his day. But what we do is we carry it on through our day. Right?
Yep. We ruminate on it. We carry it. It ruins our whole day.
Exactly. You brush it under the rug. Oh, this is just a one-time thing. I'm not even going to bother saying anything. Keeps piling up, and explosion.
Yeah. Explosion. And there's so many things. This is horrible, but it reminds me of like just not having boundaries. Like you don't say anything because you don't feel like your boundaries are whatever. You feel your boundaries aren't valid, aren't strong enough, aren't good enough, you're not valuable enough, like whatever that your belief about that is. But I always tell people, like, why are you getting run over constantly? Like, build a wall, like build a boundary for whatever is running you over. Like you have to stand up for yourself. And I don't know, this is going to bring us back to like making choices in motherhood, having boundaries, I'm sure.
Well, you know what too, Colleen, it brings us back to the original question that you asked me before I went on a tangent about like what brought me to this point. Right. And I'll be completely transparent. I have struggled with having a relationship with my own mother for years. We were just the type of people that butt heads, and it was rough. It was rough. Like I didn't feel the freedom. Maybe I've been this like butterfly my entire life. I guess that would make sense, because I've always wanted freedom. And my mother was just not used to that. You know, in the Mexican culture, you're home at a certain time, you follow certain rules, you do not move out of the house until you're married. That's still very prominent in the Hispanic culture. And that's how my household was. So, you know, as far as me not getting the freedom that I wanted, I was fighting with my mom a lot, and I moved out when I was 23. So between the years of 22, 23, that's what started my transformation journey, because I was also overweight at that point. So the first thing that I ever did for myself that included discipline and consistency and hard work was really transforming my body and losing weight so I didn't have health issues. And fast forward to years of not having a relationship with my mom, because I was so angry with her for not giving me the freedom, for she was go, strong, independent. Yet what you said at the beginning of the podcast was so prominent about when you're strong, independent, you feel like you got to do it all yourself. And that's what she did. I watched her try to do it all herself, brought upon so many years of not taking care of herself. And then that for me, because I love my mom, because I wanted the best for her, I saw that I was building up resentment and anger towards her for not caring and tending to herself. So when thinking of like, how can I serve this world? Well, what's my biggest frustration? my biggest frustration is when moms don't realize how important their roles are.
Yeah.
How,
That
how,
care.
yes. And we live in a world that says when you become a mom, your kids are everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're everything. And I would disagree because you cannot forget about yourself.
Oh, absolutely
You
not.
can
Yeah.
you cannot forget about yourself. And in preaching that to my mom for many, many years, I realized that I wasn't doing that in a very loving way.
Mm.
And and for years she would say, you will understand and you will get it when you have kids. When you have kids, I swear you're going to call me and you're going to apologize for everything you've said to me and all you've done. And
Aw.
she was freaking right,
Yeah.
Colleen.
Yeah.
She was right. I was on the phone with her weeks ago saying,
Mm-hmm.
I get it now.
Mm-hmm.
You only do the best that you can with what you have in the moment. And
Totally.
you could give your all to your kids, right? You
Yeah.
could give your all to your kids. At the end of the day, it may not be enough for
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
right? Like you
Yeah.
don't
You never know.
know.
Yeah.
All you could do is the best that you can with what you have in the moment and be
Mm-hmm.
open to improving and bettering yourself as the stages of your life progress.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what brought me into the Mama Chingona, because I had just finished my Chingona challenge, which for those viewers that don't know what Chingona means, it means badass boss in Spanish.
I love it so
So
much.
yeah, yeah, it's badass. Like when you're Chingona, you're badass.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh my God, that's an amazing name. I love the concept. I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to Angelo for helping me with the name. He's got a thing about names and programming, programming things.
Yep.
And he really encouraged me to go out and do this. And I realized in the past 5 weeks of working with 13 women that my mama struggled the most.
Mm-hmm.
The most. We don't have the luxury of time.
Right.
We still struggle with boundaries, setting boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
asking for help.
Yeah.
We, you know, I'm gonna say this. This may be a little controversial, but I'm gonna say it anyways.
Yes.
When when we become moms, we're so engulfed in motherhood and parenting
Mm-hmm.
that I believe in these days of technology and social media, unplugging from our kids means plugging into social media and technology so that we can be almost like mindless.
I agree.
And I caught myself doing this, Colleen. I
Mm-hmm.
caught myself when Santi would be napping. I would jump on Facebook. Before I knew it, I was on there for 45 minutes to an hour. Boom, there goes nap time. I didn't get to do anything for myself. I didn't even get to shower. I just got to the point where I was like tired and just aimlessly
Mm-hmm.
allowing social media to hijack my brain.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, working with mamas the past 5 weeks has made me realize that we lack discipline in that aspect,
Mm-hmm.
because we're thrown and put into this. We're not thrown. We put ourselves in this role, right? Of like everything's not in your control.
Right.
And you want a little bit of control. So you're like, I'm going to sit here and just mindlessly scroll on Facebook or
Yeah.
Instagram. And that takes away from a lot of what we could be doing and attaining, and
Mm-hmm.
even putting into filling our cup.
Oh, yeah. I don't know
So
anyone
that's,
who's like, Instagram filled my cup today.
oh my God. I mean, and that's the thing though, right? Like that, it kind of does, because you go for that
Well, yeah, it's the
dopamine,
dopamine.
right? You
Dopamine
go for
hits.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
It's the
So,
it's the it's the crack sugar of self-care.
yeah. And by no means am I judging anyone, yet
No,
I
no, no.
know myself, and I know how easily I can get hijacked. So it's small tips is like shutting off your notifications, putting limits on your social media time on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
If you look on my Instagram, you're going to see I follow 3 people on my personal page.
Mm-hmm. That's
Myself, my business, my husband, and his business.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because I found myself going on there aimlessly and just scrolling and watching, and one thing turns into the next. Before you know, you're on there for an hour, 90 minutes, whatever.
Yeah. And like, are the rabbit holes that you go down really worth it for those 45 minutes? It's like, what did I learn in this time being on here with all the 2,000 people that I follow? Like, did it really add value to my life?
Yeah. And,
no,
and you know,
not.
that's a good point. That's a good point, because as a new mother, I got to tell you, I thought it was. I thought it was, because you don't know what this is. So you're trying to connect, and you're trying to get as much information as possible. Right. It's like when you become awakened and you want to read all the books and you want to listen to all the podcasts, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what it becomes. You want to be in the know so you can prepare yourself as much as possible. And that's what I was doing. So it gets you to the point where you almost don't even trust your instincts anymore.
I was going to ask, what for you, and then what you found for the moms in your group, what was it that was lacking? Like you said, knowing, but like what was lacking that you felt you could find answers outside of yourself?
Good question. So what was lacking? Trusting myself. Lack of trust in myself. Being in this new arena and doubting. And doubting myself.
Do you see that in your mom clients? Is that prevalent as well?
100%. 100%. I feel like, or I believe that as women, we already do that in this very masculine world.
100%. And it's not encouraged to like listen to your gut or your heart. Why would you do that? They're so illogical. It makes no sense what they say.
And a lot of the women that I work with, that's what they were actually told when they were younger, in their childhood.
Yeah.
Don't feel your feelings. It's weak to feel your feelings. You cannot let men watch you cry. You cannot let men watch you feel, because it's going to come off weak. Yep.
Keep your emotions out of business.
Totally. Yep. It's a very, very common limiting belief that we have as females.
100%.
So that's I see that often in my clients, for sure.
So the lack of trust in themselves is what's leading down these rabbit holes of just searching for meaning, it sounds like. And what's the problem that you're finding with that when you start to trust or want to trust or think that you trust other people with the information? Like, where is this leading moms once they start outsourcing their power?
I believe it's leading moms to not trust themselves and seek validation elsewhere, in their parenting, and even in the way they are as a person, as a woman, as a partner, as an entrepreneur, or a working, just being the way we are in life. It definitely bleeds into that. Lack of trusting, lack of listening, lack of flowing and surrendering.
That's my biggest issue. Surrender. What is that?
Me too.
I don't have to work. I don't have to work for something. It can just come to me. You're lying.
Ease and flow. Ease and flow.
Flow. It took me 34 years to learn what those things were.
I know, girl. I know. I'm still learning. There's levels
I'm still
to
learning.
it.
I'm still learning, but like at least I finally have experienced it a little bit to be like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I get what other
Yeah,
people are
totally.
saying about this.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, it definitely doesn't help to seek that validation. And I have to be honest, it was something that has been with me for a very long time. It didn't take mothering to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It just exposes that as a person, you seek validation. And that's what was happening to me. I wasn't trusting my abilities. I was afraid to fail. Even in starting Warrior S Evolution.
Right.
This was a concept that I had for many years, and I was afraid to fail and put myself out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I just procrastinated on it and kept thinking like I wasn't enough and I'm not ready. And that was already a weed that was planted in my garden that was just exposed when I became a mother.
Mm-hmm. And
Because so sorry, Colleen.
No,
We have mothering instincts.
Mm-hmm.
Our ancestors did this before there was phones and technology and all this crap that's available nowadays.
Absolutely.
Like all of these applications for following the leaps and the this and that and your body. And I'm like, oh my God, this is too much. Yet you get engulfed in it so easily.
Mm-hmm.
And you stop trusting because you don't have to anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's going to think and do it for you.
Oh my God. Yes.
This
is just like speaking to like so much of what I believe. And I love that you said our ancestors knew what to do before there was any books on telling us what to do, or any apps or any podcasts telling us what to do. And we have innate instincts and those animal instincts built in us, and then babies also have them built in them to get what they need to survive. And we have so much distraction in our life that completely overwhelms the innate and the flow and the gut feelings and our intuition. And it goes into choosing a distraction of social media for 45 minutes because it's available to us. But we can also layer in lack of movement, poor dietary choices, alcohol and coffee or other drugs. We could layer in stressful home environments, stressful work environments where we're constantly up regulated in a state or fight or flight. And when that happens, we literally can't process any feelings of like love and compassion and safety and connection and eye contact. Because our nervous system is not built in that way. Like you can't be stressed and then also want to go out and like hug people and connect with them and like have really good, meaningful conversations. It doesn't work that way. Like our bodies don't work that way. And so when we're in that anxious state, it's a feedback loop that feeds itself. So you're anxious and you're going to seek out anxious vibrations and like things to feed the anxiousness, just as if you're a negative person, you only see negative things and negative things only happen to you because you seek them out consciously and subconsciously. That's just how laws of attraction and like our vibrations work. And so I just think of everything outside of like your 5 things that you mentioned in the beginning. Those 5 things are like tapping into the purest pure of you and your divinity and your truth. And again, these aren't things that are commonly taught. They're not being advertised in mainstream media or like Fit magazine. But they're literally the only direct pathways to trusting yourself and knowing the right answers. And so I love that you're bundling this up and teaching it to moms, because now I just listed off all those stressors, but now you have a child or children added to that that list of things that are constantly distracting you. Like,
Yeah.
of course you're going to be freaking distracted. Like, your baby is screaming in your face and you're anxious about it because it's been 2 hours. And you're like, well, let me just go meditate right now.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even, like, what does that even look like? Like, what is that coping strategy for in the moment? Or, it's just,
Yeah.
it all so beautifully ties together of, okay, do I have a partner that I can hand this child off to and take my 5 minutes for myself? Or,
Hmm.
do I feel safe enough to put my baby in front of, on the ground with a toy play mat and for 5 minutes, and they're just going to have to scream it out. And I
Yeah.
just need 5 minutes to like breathe some fresh air. And
Yeah.
then I can come back feeling more like myself. Like,
I've done
what
that too.
what are you, yeah, like what's the real talk about
That's,
these strategies in motherhood that you're helping women through and
yeah,
with?
absolutely. Absolutely. So, oh my God, there was so much in that. Like,
I
first
know.
of all, let me just say, if you are a mother and you are not doing some kind of breath work, you are doing yourself a disservice, and that's honest to God reality,
Yeah.
because we are so, I mean, and I'm still not sleeping through the night. I
Mm-hmm.
wake up 1 or 2 times a night to give a bottle
Mm-hmm.
and feeding. And yeah, there are those nights where I'm just like in my sleep handing the bottle and going back. Yet there's those nights where there's screaming going
Yeah.
on and
More
you're in
need.
that fight or flight mode. And you're like, okay, it's 3 a.m. I'm now fully awake. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you very much. Let me
Mm-hmm.
go get some tea and start my day. You know?
Yep, this is
So
happening.
it totally. And if you're not doing some kind of breath work or down regulation, it's a disservice to your responses to your family, because there's something very empowering about being able to control that in the moment, or do your best to control it because you're aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and it's inevitable, really. Like, this is what motherhood is.
Yeah.
You're not sleeping through the night. Maybe you might get an extra hour of sleep, but you're right in it. Then
Mm-hmm.
you're tending to needs as soon as possible. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned uh, the work of people that are successful people, and people that are, doing something in the
Performance.
world,
Yeah.
performance, high performance, right? And this is what I talk about in the Mama Chingona. You, as a mother, you are the CEO of your family, of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a role that big, why aren't we doing, or why isn't it more talked about to do the things that these other CEOs, high performance, successful people are doing?
Right. They're just like running a tech company. Like, it
That's
doesn't
it.
matter. They're not raising
No,
tiny humans.
there's no life. Yeah, they're not creating life and
Right.
molding it into what's going to
Be
be
our
essentially.
future.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I believe that is one of the most biggest missing pieces in,
Yeah.
our day to day, is having some kind of a routine. Don't get
Routine.
me wrong.
Yep.
Yes, some kind of a routine that helps you be your best and prepare to be your best, so that you can take on the day,
Right.
so that you can be like emails, kids, like text messages, and
Yep.
that's it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're like reacting to everything. It's a notifications that are popping out at you every second, every
Mm-hmm.
couple of seconds. No wonder we feel stressed, strung out, overwhelmed.
Right.
We haven't done anything to prepare ourselves for our day as CEOs.
Yeah. There's nothing that is raising the bar of standard care for
Yeah.
motherhood. And that's what you're
Yeah.
doing. You're saying, like,
Yes.
you can do this in 5 minutes. You can meditate for
That's
five
it.
minutes. You can journal for a different 5 minutes of the day. You can breathe for in a different 5 minutes of the day. Like, it doesn't have to be
Yep.
all an hour worth of, like you did when you
Yeah.
were not a mother. It's like
Yeah.
you're creating something, a program and a recipe to follow that can be done in those in between moments. But
Yeah.
the requirement is the expectation and the discipline and consistency is that you show up for yourself and you do this so that you can be the best CEO of driving your family where you want it to go instead of it just be like a runaway car and you have
Yeah.
no control. You have no power over where it's going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's very important to state that it's important for us to, as mothers, to find a routine that works for us,
Totally.
that we validate for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
This could be 5 minutes. This could be 15 minutes. This could be 45 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yet
Yeah.
none is better than the other. You're
Right.
putting time into you're filling your cup, and it's already a little bit of dopamine that
Mm-hmm.
you are adding to yourself in your cup, right? To be the best version of yourself for the day,
Mm-hmm.
or as much as you can be, right? Because
Right.
things will come up. Things will come up, and that's where grace comes in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And forgiving yourself because you're doing the best that you can.
I love everything that I hear that you're saying. You're basically just being like, you're reaching out your hand and you're like, come on, sister.
That's it.
I'm gonna help you up here because it's super great. And like you
Yeah.
deserve to be a badass. Like you are a badass, but we're just gonna like enhance it. And that's everything that you're offering to these moms is like, you're down here vibrating, but you want to be up here, but you don't know what the path is. So like, here's a path, and here are options to do that.
Yeah,
and
I'm
so
standing
simple.
up.
Yeah,
I'm standing up for every mother out there. I'm standing up for their greatness because I see it.
Mm-hmm.
I see it in every single one of my clients.
Absolutely.
And that is my purpose, to stand up for their greatness and teach them that this is possible. I'm doing it, and I know women that are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not enough to just do the thing. There's so many levels to it.
Yeah.
And it's possible. All I'm asking for is an ounce of a 1% chance and belief that it's possible for women to be the best mothers they can be and pursue their dreams and passions and have conscious relationships and have fun and play and all the things. It's buckets, and it's about harmony and dancing between the buckets. Balance does not exist.
No, we're constantly just flowing.
You flow. One day you're going to spend more time with your kids. One day you're going to spend a little extra time with your husband because maybe you didn't do that the next day or the day before. One day you're going to spend more time at work, and that's just how you flow. As long as at the end of the week, the month, the year, it's harmonized. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
It happens. It's polarity. It happens from minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, year to year. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you need, and all of that starts with being in tune with yourself and who you are, so that you know what you need and want.
Yeah.
And that's what I do with my mamas in the Mama Chingona challenge.
So many layers.
I know, so many layers. We could talk for hours.
We can talk for hours. I do want to ask you, if you have anything about your breathing practice that you did during pregnancy or what you do now, because I think that would be a really awesome PDF or video or something, especially for what your breathing was during pregnancy. Because like I said, when we were talking about it, I think a lot of women are scared to do anything different, like outside the box. For the most part, like the masses are. The outliers are like, I'll just fucking do CrossFit. I don't care. So they're going to do your breathing no matter what. But for the general masses, they're like, I'm scared to do anything not recommended by my doctor. Like that's just it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then what you're doing postpartum, because I obviously have been doing Wim Hof and I do his
Mhm.
standard protocol, but I didn't know if you had something different for what you
Yeah.
did like freshly postpartum, like in this first
Mhm.
year and a half during postpartum time. And the reason I ask is because I want to just highlight that most people don't understand that your breathing is your direct connection to chilling yourself out. And,
Mhm.
you know, when you're in a heightened state and you're around other people, people usually say, what? Just take some deep breaths.
Yeah.
That's because that's literally the only thing that's
That's
going to get
yeah.
you out of like panic, fight or flight mode, rage out, whatever. That's your
Yeah.
breath is the only thing that your physical self and your mentally emotional self can just come down out of that, out of seeing red or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
and can get you back down into whatever your state, your normal state of is.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and it's really not something that's frequently talked about as a tool
Right.
in ways that you applied it through the structure of like Wim Hof. And I'm
Yeah.
super curious about it because I would love to share it or just have you on for a different episode and we record it and like
Yeah.
we send it into the ethers. Um,
Mhm.
but I'm always looking for tools that can help women. Obviously, like we're very similar in what we do. Like we want to up level everybody.
Mhm.
But I love having these super unique tools that can just like boom. They're just
Yep.
something that women can turn to. It's super quick and easy and they have the power back. Like that's what this is all about. It's like
Yeah.
taking your power back to make the decisions in the moment that you need to make that are in your highest alignment and your highest truth instead of
Mhm.
someone else's story of what your response should be or an even greater like subconscious belief or story coming out and like how you're living your life. That's why I say like some people are asleep because they're just like
Mhm.
they're operating on whatever happened when they were 5 years old. And,
Totally.
but there are some of us who actually know when our 5 year old is coming out and we're like, this is not my 34-year-old self right now.
Yeah.
So we have that awareness. And
Yeah.
so that's what we mean when we're talking about awareness of the minute to minute responses and language that we're using. Um,
Mhm.
so I just wanted to speak to that before we parted ways or change
Totally.
subjects because I
Yeah.
think
Totally.
that that would be very, very unique and helpful
Totally.
to a lot of listeners and just general like followers on Instagram and the medias, whatever.
Yeah. Great question. Two tools and two breathing practices that I actually used
Yeah.
during my pregnancy were diaphragmatic breathing, just
Mm-hmm.
hand on your belly, hand on your chest, focusing on expanding and contracting the diaphragm. Um, the other tool was square breathing. So breathing in for a certain amount of seconds. Let's just say use the number 4. Breathing in for 4 seconds, holding at the top for 4 seconds, exhaling for 4 seconds, holding at the bottom of that breath for 4 seconds. And it's really dependent on how long you can hold, how
Yeah.
long your breath holds really are.
Yep.
Yet that was a nice introduction for me into breathing while I was pregnant.
Cool.
I will say that at O'Hare CrossFit, we had really great programming. So we were nasal breathing every single week and training in nasal breathing. So I did a lot of nasal breathing during my pregnancy as well while I would train because my competitive mind wanted to go into that gear. Yet
Mm-hmm.
when you're nasal breathing and you're aware of your body, well,
Yeah.
when you're nasal breathing, you must become more aware of your body in order for you to
Heck yeah.
regulate, adjust, slow
Mm-hmm.
down, whatever needs to happen for this to not be as chaotic, right?
Yep.
When you're training for
Yep.
something. So I incorporate nasal breathing because of the programming at the gym, and
Mm-hmm.
it helped me really calm the nervous system down and just go at an easy pace.
Yep.
because like I said, my mind wants to go there. I'm a competitive person. I've
Yeah.
been doing CrossFit. I was doing CrossFit for 7 years. You get me into a class, I want to beat everyone. I don't care if I'm not pregnant or 9 months pregnant.
Yep.
You know? So that
Same
really
way.
helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the diaphragmatic breathing and the triangle or square breathing. So for the listeners that are watching this, if they want to look something up, you could look up triangle or square breathing.
Okay.
It's triangle breathing. You're holding at the top, not at the bottom. So
Okay.
inhale, hold at the top, exhale, inhale, hold at the top, exhale,
Cool.
inhale, hold at the top, exhale.
Yeah.
So those two things really helped me during pregnancy.
Cool. I'll link videos. I know I recorded a video on square breathing. I think it's on my YouTube, but I'll hyperlink them for those. I'll also hyperlink a research article to nasal breathing benefits, because that's a whole rabbit hole in and of itself, of why nasal breathing is so important. I'm on my boyfriend all the time. I just go, "You're breathing through your mouth."
Yeah.
As he closes
Tape his mouth.
I'm going to tape his mouth at night, because he ends up being a mouth breather at night.
Totally.
So nasal breathing, why it's important, I'll link that in the show notes so people can do their own research and come to their own conclusions. But I'll also find the diaphragmatic vacuum from Jill Miller, which is the yoga tune-up principle that I talked about. And
Jill Miller's awesome, by the way.
Yeah, she's so fantastic. She's my celebrity crush.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She's a really good
we
mentor.
Do the ball, the
gorgeous
tunic ball. Yeah. Oh yeah. Gorgeous ball. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. Yep. Courageous. That's what
I know. So many people say courageous, and I'm like, I still like that.
Gorgeous.
I like that. Yeah. I'm teaching a yoga tune-up class tomorrow, so I'm super stoked. Yeah, it's so fun. It's
beautiful.
Such an amazing modality and tool. So
I have I really appreciate yoga. I really appreciate it. Leading up to becoming pregnant, I was doing it very consistently, and it brings upon a newfound appreciation for your body.
Totally, yeah.
I mean, being a CrossFitter for that long, going into yoga, most CrossFitters aren't as mobile yet. I have a good sense of mobility.
Nice.
And and CrossFit just strengthened that.
Yeah.
It just strengthened my flexibility, made it mobility, and yoga allows me to feel a new sense of empowerment when I do it. Slowy
and flowy.
Slow and feminine, which is what I'm diving into. That's a whole different podcast, a whole different thing. Yes. But yeah, getting back into my feminine as a mother now, because that was missing for a while too. When you're in this masculine world operating in a masculine, you're like, wait, what is that? Oh, there's feminine embodiment coaches and there's feminine embodiment practices, and cool. Let me add something else to my routine.
I am with you, sister. I'm pulling up the book that I just ordered because I forget the name of it. But I just ordered a bunch of nature nerd books. Wild and Wise is the name of the book. And it is Sacred Feminine Meditations for Women's Circles and Personal Awakenings by Amy Wilding.
Oof. Very nice.
Because for me, I'm like, give me some sacred feminine meditations, because I need all the input I can get for that.
So funny,
for that direction. But I want to hold gathering circles and ceremonial bonfires, all these things of gathering. Once the property, that's a whole different conversation. But once that is ready to go, and I'm I need to study about all of this wisdom and this. I mean, I know that I can hold space, and I do that very well, and I don't doubt that I would hold a kick-ass women's circle, but there's just something more to learn about just the I want to know what elders have known and like what
Mm-hmm.
have been ancient traditions, because I'm just a curious person in that way. So
Mm-hmm.
I just want the knowledge that has been
Yeah.
passed down for generations, and I don't think that there's anything um there's nothing holding me back from holding a women's circle like right now tonight, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like I want to be equipped. Like I want to know what I'm
Totally.
getting into and like how I can
Mm-hmm.
make it better. Like what do I
Yeah.
not know that I can then bring to the table for these women and for these humans and families and all that good stuff. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited
That's
about that
awesome.
book.
Oh, at the end of the day, Colleen,
Yeah.
we all just want to connect,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
So why wouldn't we learn things to help us be better connectors?
Mhm. Yep.
And when you find that thing, it's like do it as often as possible
Mhm. Oh yeah.
because it's a way to fill your cup. And that's, I have never been so pumped up about something in my life. And I have been struggling with niching down my women's program.
Mhm.
Yet when I realized what I realized in the last couple of months of
With the
of the
moms.
Chingona challenge,
Yeah.
I was like, moms, it has been my biggest frustration. It
Yep.
is what I believe 150%. And I know I can steward this movement of mama mindset, mama empowerment,
Mhm.
mama wellness in the way of giving practical tools and solutions to continue filling your cup and how you can do that without giving up your family. Because I feel like we take this on where it's like, well, if you want to do something, you're giving up on your family. Yet they don't. Our family never asked us to give up on our dreams and our purposes.
Yeah.
All they ask of us is to not forget about them
Right.
in the process.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, wild. They never actually say, "Don't pursue your dreams and your purposes, please." Like, don't fill your cup. Don't take time for yourself. We just
Right.
do this like naturally, and it's so twisted and backwards and beautiful in the same way, right?
Mhm.
Like all the beauty in it. Because it's a journey,
Yeah.
and we all learn when we're ready to learn and take that on. So if you're not there yet, that's okay too.
Oh
That's
yeah.
okay too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You are where
So
you are,
yeah,
and we're
that's
just
it.
two women trying to meet you somewhere where you are
Yep,
and offer
that's
you
it.
these hot tips
Yeah,
on living a better
absolutely.
life.
And it's possible to be ease and flow.
Mhm.
Doesn't have to be hard. Secret doesn't have to be hard.
I recorded a podcast on that.
It doesn't have to be hard.
Literally, Waylon and I recorded a video last week on easy. Life coming to you easy. Things coming to you easy. Like, it's a thing. It's a really good thing.
You know,
It
yeah, and
doesn't
you know
have to
what?
be hard. That's brainwashing. Life does not have to be
Totally,
hard.
totally.
Yep.
I equate this to my mamas as all we have to do is sharpen your sword so that you are like a ninja throughout your day. You're completely intentional.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you want. You are so in tune with what you want to happen that you're just uh, carrying out the actions, right, and
Right.
flowing. Because
Yeah.
when you are disciplined and when you have the consistency, you can bounce back from like an obstacle or
Yeah.
something that stands in your way because you've already set in place those habits
Mm-hmm.
of success,
Yeah.
right? And it doesn't stop because we're mamas. It just becomes more intentional.
Yeah. Does the ease of sharpening your samurai sword analogy come from like if you have a sharp sword, it's easy, but if you have a
Yes.
butter knife,
Yes.
it's hard. Right.
Yeah.
So like that's
Yeah.
the perfect. Let's just end on that. Have a ninja sword that's sharp, not a butter
That's all
knife
we're
for
doing.
life.
That's it. That's all we're doing here. That's what we're trying. That's what we're teaching mamas.
Yes.
That's That's it.
Yeah. How not
Totally.
to life with a butter knife.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
That's
going to be like the name of the show, this episode.
That's got to be a quote card. You better put that on as a quote card.
Okay, done. It's done. It's going to be the Instagram post announcing this show.
Oh my God, I love it.
We're great.
Yeah, it's a fun time, Colleen. It's our time. It's our time with as much feminine empowerment and this whole movement that we have right now. We cannot, we will not be left behind.
Mm-mm.
You know, it takes a village. It takes a village to raise kids and
raise moms and dads.
Yeah, like it takes a village, and we aren't using our resources as much as we should be.
Totally.
Because limiting beliefs, habits that we have. So that's my way of starting this movement is through the Mama Chingona challenge. Mm-hmm. I have much more in store. I mean,
heck yeah.
I'm going to put it out in the ether because I'm looking to start a podcast, and I'm giving myself the deadline of end of the month here in February.
Yes, so yes.
That's what this mama's up to. La Jefa experience. That's what it's called.
What does it mean?
Experience. La Jefa is boss and mama in Spanish.
Oh, yes.
So yeah. So it means my jefa would be my mom, or my jefa could be my boss.
Okay. That's crazy. That's amazing.
And I know, and how perfect, right? Like,
like,
oh, yes, I'm talking to the jefas of the world.
Right.
For sure, this is going to be it.
Yes, yes.
And it's all and I'm going to be talking about all things mama wellness. Mm-hmm. I am going to have experts on to talk about nutrition. I would love to have you on to talk about pregnancy, postpartum, and training, and all the things you're doing. Mm-hmm. I want to bring in a sex expert. How can we, make better sex, have better sex?
How can we make better sex?
How can we make it? How can we have better sex postpartum? Our libidos are affected. Like, how can we start tapping into the feminine again? Mm-hmm.
I have so much to say on this topic.
Please.
No, can't. We can't. We got to end this one.
I know. So this is what I'm working on. It's coming out by the end of the month. La Jefa experience on all podcast channels, and the Mama Chingona challenge. My next challenge is starting next Wednesday, the 17th, February 17th.
Cool. This is obviously going to be published as soon as I press end. I have to do some editing on the back end tonight and tomorrow, and then you can start sharing wildly, but I will too, because I want to drive some people hopefully to sign up today or before the deadline of Wednesday.
For sure.
But at least get following you and all of your wisdom. Where can people find you? What is your Instagram handle? All the things.
Yes, I am on Facebook and Instagram is all I do right now. Actually, I got on Clubhouse the other day. Bad news. I don't need another platform.
It's crazy. I'm on stereo as well, and that's freaking awesome and nuts at the same time. I love it, but it's just another thing where I'm like, it's another thing. Like, okay, I have to stop now.
Yep,
I'm at my 3 limit.
Yep, I'm in the exact same place with Clubhouse, and I do not log into it anymore because, besides this Saturday, Angelo and I are doing this fun little Valentine's thing.
Yeah.
You can find me on Facebook, Rocio Sisco, and Instagram at ro_Sisco, or at the warrior, so at the_warrior evolution. And I'll send you all those tags so that you can tag me in the show notes.
You don't have to. I have them. I'll just put them in the show notes.
Cool.
Yeah, so people can look. A lot of people don't like reading, so I have you say it as well.
Yeah. No, thank you. I should have said it a little slower. Yes. Go look at the show notes.
Read, people.
Please.
Just read a little bit and then click the link and follow her along. Yay! Sure. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you
this
for
was
having me on.
Amazing, and I can't wait to talk with you again, either on here or on your brand new platform that's coming. It's coming.
Yes.
It's done.
It's coming.
On
And
there, because I think that there's
yeah.
so much more that we both have to share and that we think and that we believe that I think would be very, very beneficial to our viewers. So this will be happening again.
The world needs this energy, and we're
Mm-hmm.
going to give it to them.
Heck yeah.
And on that, don't life with a butter knife, okay?
Don't life with a butter knife. That might become a shirt. I'm just gonna put it out
Do
there.
it. Put it out there. Put it in the ether.
All right. Have
Love
a
it.
great afternoon and evening.
You too, Colleen. Thanks
You're
for having me
awesome.
on. Thank you guys for watching.
Thanks for
Bye.
tuning in. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh no.